motherfuckers come to the gaming streams.
Oh, there's a certain crowd for
Yeah,
sure.
there's a certain person. But I've noticed, I mean, when I'm watching like Jenny Girl on my side, and okay, these are not hot tub people, but most of the time they end up not playing video games. They just end up talking, and it's actually so fucking interesting. It's like,
Yeah, that's what happens to me. Is
good
like I'll have
topic.
plans to play a game, and then we just get to chatting, and then that's all we do.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, so here we go. So
I'm
yeah,
not
so
even in a hot tub.
by the way, my YouTube decided in our country and except in the United States that to remove the fundraiser option completely. So it's only in the United States now.
I didn't know what that was. We were kind of talking about it, but I didn't.
Yeah, you could actually list your video as a fundraiser, and you could pick a list of, and they do the entire transaction for you. Now they've rolled it all back to the United States. I'm like, why?
Oh.
It's like most of the places I want to donate to are in United States. Come on. Yeah. Oh.
I'm live, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
So don't say anything. Don't say anything bad about Reiha online.
Yeah. God, you know.
Talk about buttholes.
Yeah, let's
I thought that was normal in our AMAs.
I mean, actually, it kind of is.
It is. It really is.
Poop is important when you're dealing with animals. Poop is so important.
Yes.
We pay so much attention to poop. As an animal owner too, you should be watching poop like a hawk. I look for ferret poop like you would not.
Yes. Well, I'm on the same. If my dragon doesn't poop in a certain amount of time, I take him to the vet. Like, he hasn't pooped, doctor. And when he does poop, I feel like a parent. Like, oh my god, he pooped. He pooped. Like, are you excited about that? Yes, I'm so happy. She pooped. Okay, welcome everyone to another show where we're getting straight into things with poop. You asked for it.
It's so important.
So important, especially with animals. Hello, Tessa. So, yeah, welcome to another creature feature with KP and Reiha. And today we're going to be talking about positive reinforcements with pets. But first of all, I need to ask KP a couple of questions about your shows. I've been watching them. Are they coming out a lot quicker than usual? Because I swear I got like 2 notifications within a week of each other. Your deep dives.
My deeper dives?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're kind of like, it's kind of a weird thing. So we definitely changed like the way that the appearance of all of our videos. And so they're all kind of in a deeper dive type of format, but I'm really only calling Saturday.
Okay, I see what you mean.
So it's kind of confusing. I need to I need to maybe streamline that a little bit more. But yeah, we do Wednesdays and Saturday uploads. But yeah, technically we try to make Saturdays the kind of bigger video, and Wednesday kind of just like a fun little like tidbit kind of a video.
Maybe do deeper dives shorts, not shorts, but you know what I mean, like give it a different. But I like the format.
Do, like the shallow surf, or like something. So we're thinking about that. So if you've got any great ideas, like
the shallow dive, clink.
Yeah, the shallow dive and the deeper dive, but yeah. So technically, this Saturday is like our deeper dive, our big long form content.
I don't have to take credit for this, and it might sound like a stupid thing, but deeper dive on the surface.
Deeper dive on the surface.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many things, and we could definitely do. We talked about like enter the tide pool, or like just some silly things like that are just fun. But yeah, so technically the Saturday one is our deeper dive. But yes, Wednesdays and Saturdays are our upload days. So.
Okay.
KP, you gotta update your stream info.
Sorry, what?
Your stream info says drink.
Yeah, I got it. Cafe, 6 months. I'll fix it right now.
Let me just drop a Nightbot there. So come on, Nightbot, you can do it. We just created a whole bunch of new tags. So I'm just dropped the one and wins Nightbot tag, and will it work? Yes. Jeez. Okay. Okay, I was about to say no. Okay, so welcome everyone. We've given an intro, but all I'm saying is, sorry, I had questions about the deeper dive shows. How long do those take to make? Because you're pretty much on location and doing voice recordings afterwards.
Yeah, they're getting a little bit easier to do. we're getting into a rhythm. And honestly, the thing that takes the most time is double editing those videos. But he's getting really, really good with the software that we use. And so now I'd say we're probably down to like filming plus editing. It probably takes about 8 to 12 hours to do one video.
One video.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, with all things, practice makes perfect, and those things definitely, the shows or editing becomes a lot easier. But yeah, it was very entertaining.
Yeah, he's getting much better, and I think the videos are getting better every time and stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. So I hope everybody's loving him too.
Yes. I'm your first. I have to. Sorry, before we carry on, I have to ask, what was with the David Attenborough heading? I was like, I was still waiting the whole first show for David Attenborough.
This. I was just saying, like, move over, David Attenborough.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like,
the new David Attenborough.
yes, and now we shall look at.
It was obviously we missed the mark with that one because everybody was like, "What's with the David Attenborough?"
Yeah.
Why does David Attenborough move over, and I was like, "All right, fine, whatever."
Well, you know what? Yeah, we need a new David Attenborough. That dude's like 95 years old now.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I hear.
he's pushing that time span. But anyway, guys, okay, let's get straight into it. Maybe, Ray, you can hit us with the first question of the show.
First question this morning is, do different types of animals require higher or lower rates of reinforcement?
Oh, interesting question. Sorry, I'm going to change my look here. Not necessarily. I wouldn't, you know, when you're dealing with animals, a lot of people try to categorize them. You know, a lot of people say, oh, is it more smart or less smart than a dog, or more smart or less smart than a dolphin? But I don't really think that type of stuff typically applies to animals. I think that animals just learn in different ways, not necessarily like faster or slower or better or worse. So in that way, I actually think there's more individual animal differences rather than like species differences, if that makes sense. So like, I don't really think there's too much of a difference between training like a dolphin and a sea lion. There's not too many differences in the way that you would do it, but each individual animal is going to have a different type of learning style. I kind of like will put it on the same terms as like if like when I was growing up, I was very, very bad at math. I still am. Math is a very, you know, is not one of my strong suits. But that didn't mean that I wasn't smart. And my brother was very, very good at math and not so good at like science. And so, you know, there's just differences among you know, in the species, like individual animals. Yeah, or like riding a bike, you know, some kids learn faster, some kids learn slower. It doesn't mean that they're not, you know, you know, that they're not as good at it. They're just not you know, or you're just not being taught the proper way or something like that. So as far as like rates of reinforcement, I don't really think so. I think you just kind of have to like judge the animal and kind of see what's working for them. And if you're finding that the animal's losing interest, then maybe you're not being exciting enough. So you're not providing enough reinforcement that the animal even wants to hang out with you. That sort of thing. So yeah, in that instance, I would just more focus on like the individual animal. I can't give you like oh yes, absolutely, with, you know, with golden retrievers, you have to reinforce them this often, and, you know, because it's really just going to depend. And some of them you can use food, and some of them you don't have to use food.
Yeah.
So there's lots of differences. I don't know if that I know all of our questions are like, there you go, there's the answer to your question that definitely doesn't answer your question. Have a good day.
We're politicians here.
Yeah.
Is there ever cases when animal actually doesn't want to learn a certain thing, either because they're absolutely not interested at all, or they have anxiety or something like that? Is it possible that some animals will never learn a certain trick purely based on their personalities, if I can use that word?
Yeah, I mean, I fully believe if you're doing if you know what you're doing, and you're doing, a good job as a trainer, you can teach any animal anything that they can physically do. But there are going to be things that are way, way harder. So like you're saying, like things that the animal is, for whatever reason, has an inherent fear of, that is like, those are really, really tricky things. And in that way, you're actually kind of untraining things, which I think is harder. You're untraining the animal from it. It's obviously been taught to be afraid of something or nervous about something, and you have to untrain that animal from being scared. And that is a very, very hard thing to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and say everything is possible, because I really do believe that. But yes, there are things that are just going to be very, very difficult, and sometimes you just kind of have to like cut your losses, so to speak, or like find some sort of middle ground. Like my ferret, who was food aggressive, he obviously has a fear of starving. I don't know why. It didn't come from me, he came like this to me. And so basically I've kind of met him halfway by he gets to eat however much he wants, and yeah, he's a little overweight, but he also doesn't have a food aggression issue anymore. So we worked on it, but also I let him have as much as he wants, so he doesn't have those issues anymore. If I were to put him on a diet, I think that I would get those issues again. So I've just kind of met him sort of halfway on that, and I'm taking the risk of him being slightly overweight is worth it to me, in order for him to not be worried that he's not going to have food for whatever reason, even though that's obviously not the case. So something like that. I mean, that's just like a personal example, but there's going to be things that you're just like, it's like the my friend had a dog that was food aggressive over the bowl.
Oh,
and so
wow.
what he did was the dog doesn't get a bowl anymore. They just put the food on the floor, and the dog doesn't have a problem anymore. So like sometimes you have to kind of like, what do you want? What do you care about? Do you care that the dog eats out of a bowl? Does it really matter? Not really. So like, if the problem is the bowl, just don't feed him out of a bowl anymore. Voila.
Hey, that's a good point. We're so used to
kind of
feeding a dog with a bowl.
Yeah, of course you're gonna have to clean your floor a little bit more often, but it's it eliminates an entire problem. And so there's some of those things where it's just like, oh well, my animal has a problem with this. Well, okay, well why? Well then just don't do that anymore. And some of those are valid options, unless you really need the animal to do something specifically. So maybe we'll come across some examples that people have, but
yes. Actually, yeah. Sorry, Ray. You can go to. I'm watching Critter Cam, by the way, here, and the squirrels are there. Oh my god!
You have to go over there. It's so fun. I'm watching an orangutan, but he looks like he's taking a nap, so he's not super interesting.
I was actually going to ask one of the questions, because I noticed on Critter Cam, the Crocs lady, I just call her Mrs. Crocs. She always walks in with Crocs. She can walk into the middle of the squirrels, the ducks, the raccoons, and they don't care. Is that something also with the reinforcement? Like if you continue to feed an animal, they're no longer going to be bothered by you? Is that an actual thing? I know that
I think they can definitely learn like that certain people are not a threat. Like, oh, this is the food lady. This is the lady who always brings all the peanuts.
The lunch ladies come in.
Yeah.
Yes.
They can absolutely learn that, and like the same is true with the animals that we work with. They don't, when we have guests, they don't react the same way
that they do with you.
And a lot of people think it's the uniform, but we don't actually like the animals can't really see red, so the red that we wear is not likely like super recognizable to them, but they do recognize us. They recognize not faces probably, but they everybody has a different body shape, everybody has different mannerisms. Like I can tell who my dad is in a crowd of people when he's walking away from me from 100 yards away, because I know what he looks like and I know how he behaves. And so the same is true of of the animals. They definitely recognize us and they go, oh my god,
it's like, here comes the food people. Yeah. The food gods. But I can see
exactly.
The squirrels are chunkier because apparently they get marshmallow bits in their food. I don't know how good that is, but they actually get more.
Oh,
I want to eat the stuff out that bowl with all the corn. I don't know. It's like something you'd buy at a kiosk and be like, I want this with the marshmallow bits. Yeah, probably not as good, but I mean, they're very healthy, chunky squirrels. Anyway, let's move on to the next question.
Our next question is, besides treats or food-based reinforcement, what other types of positive reinforcement are there?
Yeah, I think this pertains especially a lot to people with dogs or even potentially cats. Just like physical interaction. Dogs often, when you look at like all those police dogs and those really like working dogs, the the ones doing like the scent stuff, all of those animals, you never see them get food reinforcement because they're so excited about playtime or about just pets and snuggles and stuff like that. So that can definitely be something. We found that with like our dolphins and our whales in the past. Belugas really like a good tongue rub, so you can offer that as a reinforcement. And like body rubs. We had a dolphin who just loved tail rubs. So so those types of things can be sometimes even more reinforcing than food for an animal, especially when you have animals that, living at home or living in a facility. Our animals don't know what hunger really is. They've never known true hunger. So that food motivation, while still there, is definitely not as high as like a wild animal. Maybe not these chunky squirrels, but most wild animals. So yeah, you can definitely use those types of things. You can even use things like with our penguins who don't really eat a lot, and for the most part, other than Hope, they don't really care about us being near them. When we do lifts with them, which we have to do to check their feet, they don't really appreciate being held up in the sky. But what we do is we hold them there, and then as soon as they calm down, they're nice and calm for a couple seconds, we let them down, and they realize very quickly, okay, as soon as I just chill out and relax, I get to go back down to the ground again. So you can do things like that, or even allowing certain animals to see other animals. Like, okay, like a dog is very very excited to see his friend. Okay, as soon as you sit down and take a second and chill out, I'm gonna open the door and let you go hang out with your friend. So there's lots of different things, and it's mostly going to be dependent on your animal individually about what they actually enjoy. If you find that you have a cat that just really loves to play with a certain toy, you can keep that toy for training time. That toy can be like a specific training time toy that you can use to reinforce the animal, stuff like that.
Oh, okay, that's a handy tip actually. I need to tell some people that. So you just basically, the favorite toy doesn't become a regularly accessed thing. It becomes basically
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I think people like sometimes we get too into just letting the animals have toys all the time. When
yes,
really, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but circulating those toys is far more valuable to those animals. Like I promise you, if they only have access to like one toy, and then you every couple days you
you
switch
switch
it
it.
out with something else, they're gonna play with the toys far more often. It's sort of the same thing as humans, right? When you have an entire room full of toys, the kids never really want to play with it, but the second that they get something new, that's what they want to play with. Now, if you just rotated those toys, then you don't have to buy new things, um, because it serves the same purpose. They haven't seen that in a long time. They want to play with it.
My mind has just
So
been
yeah, I
blown.
highly recommend that, and yeah, and that's what they do with the police dogs and the scent dogs, is they have a
Yes.
specific toy that animal really really likes, and as soon as that animal does what they're looking for, then they get to play with that toy. Then and only then do they get to play with that toy. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's not like
It's a
bad
stimulant.
for the animal. Yeah, it's actually better. Like, it's one of those things that we think about. Oh, we're depriving them of it. No, the animal, when the animal doesn't have the toy, the animal's not thinking about that toy all the
Yes.
time.
But when it comes
But
back, it's
when
like,
it does
ooh!
have to it, yeah, it's like, oh, exciting. So
You just blew my
yeah,
mind
it's
because
like,
that would work with kids as well, right? I mean, I know
Yeah.
it's worked with me when I was younger. I just realized something that I'm not going to share, but I'm like, oh, that's so true.
Yeah, I mean, these are things that like we don't really think about, and I like, I've like this is stuff that I have books on this stuff. So if you really want, I highly recommend a book by Karen Pryor. Maybe I'll type it in the chat here. Called "Don't Shoot the Dog." That sounds bad, but
Sure, what a title.
That's a rough title.
I know,
Frick.
but really, the idea is that like, back in the day, so of course this isn't, this isn't really relevant now, but they would actually, if they had a misbehaved dog, they would just get rid of the dog. And the same thing still applies. Of course, we don't shoot the dog, but some people will just get rid of problem animals, right?
Yes.
And so the idea here, thanks, Reiha. The idea here is that, there's never a problem that you can't solve. So like, and it's not the dog's fault. So don't, it's not like, oh, this is just a bad dog. That's not a thing. So, and that's the idea behind it. And it's a lot of like basic training principles that really, really apply to just the everyday pet owner. So I highly recommend that book. It's very cheap too. I'm sure you could get it on Amazon for like $10 or something like that. So highly recommend that.
Gosh, sorry. Suddenly my YouTube just kicked in. No, but I sorry, I just posted a link in the chats for that book, because that's actually very, very interesting. That whole concept of what you just mentioned of like, it's not restriction. It's just, yeah, I think that works with anything.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Our next question is it possible to train a hamster?
It's possible
Positive
to train.
reinforcement.
Yeah, it's possible to train anything with a
Brainstem. I knew you were going to say that. I love that statement.
So yes, hamsters can absolutely learn things. And again, it's just going to have to do with, like, honestly, this sounds really rude, but I think about this in every single day in my everyday life, and you'll hear me say it on this channel too. If the animal isn't getting it, it's my fault. Like, there's something that I'm
not doing properly.
Providing the animal, like, I'm not providing it the information that it needs to get it right. So it's always the trainer's fault. And so educating yourself on the principles of animal training is a great place to start. So yes, you can absolutely train a hamster. I've never tried it, but I know that I could do it. And it's just a matter of finding out what that animal likes, which in this case I would guess is probably food. You probably have like a normal set of stuff that the animal always has access to, but I bet it has something that it really, really likes. I don't know what hamsters eat. Does it like nuts or something? Like sunflower seeds?
Yeah,
seeds
like and all that jazz.
Like, you could save its very, very favorite things for training time. And even just start by teaching the animal that like to come to a certain sound or something like that, and it realizes, oh, okay, this person's got something for me. I should give it my attention. Because if you just go in there and start like throwing hand signals around and asking it to flip, you're obviously not going to get anything. But you have to take really, really small steps, baby steps. But yeah, I mean, so I always recommend starting like by showing the animal that there's something to be gained by coming to a certain sound, whether that's your name or whatever, and learning that with like a hamster, I would keep things really, really simple. Like maybe you have like I don't want to like I was gonna say a whistle, but I don't want you to like roll into the room like blaring away shit out of it. But like maybe like a quieter type of noise that you can and then you can immediately show the animal the food item that you're looking for, and then it goes, oh my gosh, that sound. Every time that sound happens, then you'll start to notice when you start to do that sound, the animal perks up, looks around, and is looking for you, and that's when you've got its attention. And then you can start training things like, I don't know, like stand up. I feel like would be an easy one with a hamster. Introduce a hand signal, and then you can bait. Like, there's nothing wrong with like just holding the food. That's how I got the ferrets to stand up for the first time, is like hold the food above their head. Then pretty soon all they need is the hand signal, and they don't need you to hold the food above their head anymore. And you just reinforce them when they're doing the behavior correctly. Yeah, I mean, it's all possible. You can definitely train a hamster.
Now, I was actually about to say, I have been recommended a YouTube video of a hamster doing a backflip backflip, like
Oh
literally
yeah,
like kick,
I've seen that.
kick,
I've
and
seen
I'm
that.
like,
It's like the
what?
fastest little backflip on the
Yes,
face of the planet.
and it's like a blur, but they've literally trained this little squirrel, this little hamster to black flips that it even started to do it on its own. Like sometimes in the cage, like, you know what, I'm feeling bored. I'm gonna practice my athletics.
Yeah, hamsters are interesting because I think that they like they apparently, because I looked into this recently, because we talked about hamster wheels. I can't remember if it was on this show or on a different show, but basically that they need to exercise. Like they love to exercise, so that's why you get hamster wheels. Is not
Yes.
because
It's
like
like a
it's
novelty.
Because the animal actually, yeah, like out in the wild hamsters wherever they live would be like actually running like all night long, and so that's why they have hamster wheels. So I think that flip is kind of similar, where they're
Yes.
like, I must do something, backflip.
Yeah, backflip. I need to do extra. Well, my friend had a hamster, and it, like, swear, it actually enjoyed spinning around. So it would run really fast and stop and go whoa, 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 fall out, go back and do the exact same thing. And if he didn't have that hamster wheel, he'd be trying to throw himself on the back inside the cage, because I think they like that momentum of it spinning around. But they play and exercise.
And you can do something called like capturing that behavior. So what probably happened with that hamster and the backflip, I'm guessing, is the hamster just did a backflip.
And they were like,
and then it
ooh.
got reinforced for it in some way. So in that way, you can, like, if you see the animal do something that you like, you can give it the signal that means it did a good job, which, you know, you can use a clicker, you can use a whistle, you can even just say good. And then you can just give it the reinforcement. With animals like that are pretty, well, in any animal really, you should always use like a very clear, concise, what we call bridge, which is what I'm saying. The whistle or the click or the good, those are all what's called a bridge, or a bridging stimulus. And it basically means it bridges the gap between when the animal did the correct behavior and then they can expect the reward. So it pinpoints the moment when they did the exact right thing. Because the last thing you want to do, if you ask an animal to stand and it stands and then it sits back down and then you give it a piece of food, then it's learned that sitting back down is what it gets the reinforcement for, right? Does that make sense? Whereas if you say good when it's standing, and then you can either give it a piece of food when it is standing, or like if you've said good and the animal understands that bridging stimulus, then it knows, okay, it's the second that I stood up at my highest, that's when I am actually doing the correct behavior. So with those animals, I like to keep it super concise. So if you have a clicker, those are really easy. Like it's you can't botch a click because it's just a click, it just makes that noise. But just saying like good and being like really, you know, sometimes it's hard because like with dogs we're like, oh, it's a good.
Yes.
You know, and that's kind of fun, but really like the animal, that's not a very concise, you know, it's not like super to the point. So always like the clearer the better, so that the animal doesn't get confused.
Yes, because I think someone was saying that dogs will understand tone sometimes more than they understand words. So you could be shouting at a dog like, "You're a very good boy. You're a good boy," and the dog's like, "Why are you angry at me?"
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, like animals can understand like body language and things like that. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's kind of like the gist of hamster training. There you go.
And when you mentioned about the hand signals, because I know even Reiha with your doggy, you like mainly use hand signals. How soon can that transition happen? And is it more useful to use than just shouting out a command, so to speak, is to use hand signals? Because I mean, we see caregivers do it all the time. Is there a reason why hand signals are preferred than over saying something?
It's mostly just preference. We almost always use both when we're working with, when I'm working with any animal, I almost always use both. And I just find that for whatever reason, the animals are paying more attention to my hand signals than they are to the actual words. And that doesn't mean that you can't train them to just go on verbal. You just have to really concentrate on that. So the reason, I guess, is just that through experience, I've found that animals are more visually attuned to you than they are, hearing wise.
Yes.
Is like basically the only reason, but in general, I would just use both, and then you don't have like you don't have to worry about one or the other. But it's just personal preference for the most part. Like what do you like with a hand signal? What I like that you can do is I don't know. Sometimes hand signals really seem to mimic what we're asking. If you're asking, like my hand signal for my ferrets to stand looks like this, and it's kind of intuitive. Like even for an animal, they go, oh, okay, up, so that's something that you can get out of a hand signal that you can't really get out of a verbal. So those are some things that I like. When you do sit, kind of the same thing with the dog. Like I find that people have multiple hand signals for sit, but sometimes like each one kind of feels intuitive for me. Like if I was just watching on mute, I could probably guess what that hand signal meant, and that means that your dog probably can have some sort of idea as well. It's just like reading body language. So that's and there's no time for a transition or anything like that. You can do it whenever you want. It's all up to you. If you want to just do verbal, you can absolutely train an animal to just do verbal. I think it's easier to just do both. But yeah, there's no like time specifically for a transition. It's just kind of like up to you and what you want to do.
Okay. So basically, but I don't know. Also, hand signals just look fancy. So.
I mean, they work pretty well when you need to be quiet and do things.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I honestly didn't even know that I was teaching Ikaika hand signals. I think I just kind of subconsciously did it.
Yeah, because it's what you thought made sense, and so probably to Ikaika it made sense too. And so some of that's just kind of instinctual, and that's totally fine. But yeah, it's up to you if you want completely like motionless signals and you just want verbal, that's totally fine. If you just want hand signals, that's also totally fine. I mean, you can train like there are especially if you're watching like some of the really big intricate like sea lion or dolphin shows at some of like the really big entertainment parks, you'll probably not even really see a lot of hand signals because and that's what they're using is hand signals, but they're so like subtle. They can be just like a shift of the hips, like stuff, a tap of the foot that you don't even notice that the animals have learned to do. So you can teach them to do anything on any hand signal, but just some things just seem a little bit more, they're instinctual for you and they're a little bit more instinctual for the animals as well.
Okay.
Yeah, verbal signals are really cool, especially when we watch herding dogs.
Yes.
I find that
cool. The sound effects also that come out of the people's mouth, and it's like go this and the commands, and these dogs just turn on a dime like they're remote control. It's amazing. Like
those are some like really prime examples of training. Those people are better than I will ever be. But yeah, I mean that's exactly exactly the type of stuff that you can do. That obviously that's not, you blow that whistle in the face of Ikaika and he's gonna look at you like
what the hell have you done?
But if you trained him, like he could learn.
But absolutely, by the way, just speaking on that, if anyone ever watches to dump your brain on YouTube, watch shepherd dogs. Oh my gosh, it's amazing how they perform. And they're happy to do it. These dogs are like ecstatic. But as you mentioned, it's like the commands, the hand signals, and all that.
And working dogs. I mean,
yes,
like they love doing that, and that's kind of one of the things to keep in mind too. Is like some animals are going to be very, very motivated, and some animals may not be as motivated. So again, it's finding what motivates them.
Oh, we got a new. Oh, yes, absolutely. If we can move on to the next question. If guys, also feel free to ask your questions here as well on chat. Don't be scared, but yeah, please by all means ask your questions on chat too as we go along.
I get completely distracted by Beans talking about the chunk squirrel and how that's them after quarantine.
Yeah, there's some chunk squirrels. This is
Yes.
definitely a chunky channel.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah, there's a very, and
Anyway.
they don't stop eating. Like, please,
anyways,
please.
our next one is I just got 2 ferrets. Thanks, KP. When is it time to start training them? Right now, they're getting used to me and my husband.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I hope you didn't just get ferrets because I have ferrets. Because then you're gonna be very sad. But I hope that you did lots of research and that they're the right pet for you. But it is never too early and never too late to start training. So immediately. I mean, with ferrets, the thing that that I like to do pretty much straight away is potty training. So usually they have some sort of cage setup, and in that cage, I give them one level, and most of that level is occupied by a litter box, and the rest of it is like bedding that they hopefully won't poop on. And then you can build up from there and give yourself, like, I have like a 3 or 4 story, not like actual story, but ferret size story, cage, where they live in, and slowly building up so that they have more space. And then once they're, you know, really comfortable inside that cage, using the litter box, I'm not saying don't let them out, because you have to let your ferrets out like multiple times a day, at least like hours they have to be outside, I think. And so then you can kind of move to, they have access to one room, and that room has like 4 litter boxes in them, in the corners. And so doing litter box training, I think, is really, really important. This is going to be like, this person should just DM me, because at this point, this is going to occupy this entire AMA. But yeah, and then something else I really like to do nice and early is when they are asleep, I like to scoop them up and hold on to them and like let them sleep with me. And I think that goes a long way towards, like you said, they're just getting used to you. Well, wait until they fall asleep, pick them up, snuggle with them a little bit. You may only get like a few minutes out of them and stuff like that. But that is, you know, gonna go a long way towards like that socialization type of thing. But yeah, I mean, starting off by like finding a treat that they like, and teaching them that, hey, look, I provide this treat for you, is going to go a long way towards that socialization process as well. But anyway, this is going to be like, this sounds like a conversation for a different time. So feel free to like DM me, and we can chat all about ferrets, because I'm super passionate about making sure that ferrets under human care have awesome lives. So yeah, feel free to message me, and we can even like chat about it personally. But that's kind of that's what I would start with.
Yes. Go to KP's Discord and chat to KP about your ferrets. And please, as always before, don't just buy ferrets because you see them on KP's channel.
They can be really great pets.
Yes,
and for
if
some
you do
people,
your
they're gonna be
research.
great. Yeah, but for some people, they're just not going to be for them. So yeah, it's just one of those things that I always, you know, recommend caution.
I won't lie. I mean, I've been pretty candid about that. But the fact that you mentioned about how much diseases they actually can get with the adrenaline glands as well, and the amount of care.
It's a heartbreaking animal to have, to be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
that immediately was like, I actually know in myself I wouldn't be that committed and devoted, and I'd just be on anxiety the whole time. So no ferret for Jason. They're so cute, but no ferret for Jason, because I wouldn't look after it properly. And we have to be honest with ourselves. It's not us being bad people. It's just saying, I cannot do this, so I won't do it, because the repercussions of it are quite serious. But
right.
Hopefully that works out, that the ferrets, maybe on chat, let us know what the name of your ferrets are, whoever posted that question. And pictures would never happened. But let's move on to the next question.
1 second. There we go. Next question is there a way to train fear out of a dog? My dog is so afraid of noises, especially loud booms, fireworks, random beeps, car doors slamming. What would you suggest I should try to do so he doesn't get too scared? Is there anything I can do? It makes me so sad.
Yeah, so this is not easy. This is not an easy thing to do. And so it's definitely you're in for the long haul. So don't expect like anything like this to get better overnight. So some things that I would do to help you to succeed in this. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, like, what are they called, like thunder vests or like thunder jackets that they make for dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is like it's a comfort thing. It's kind of the same thing as like gravity blankets for people now that we have. So those that provides a lot of comfort, that kind of pressure, and that can really sort of help you to get, because what you've got is a dog that's so filled that's so sorry you guys, the wine glass moves to the left. It's a sub train, so if you guys keep subbing or give subs or whatever, they're asking about my little sub train, then the wine glass will go back to the beginning, and the point is to not let it get to the end, is what the wine glass is doing. If you guys are wondering. So yeah, so the like, you have to get the animal to a point where they can work with you, because when you have an animal in such panic like that, there's nothing that you can really do to break them out of it. So I would suggest doing something like that. You know, especially when you know there's, you know, you're on 4th of July. You strap that thing on because you know that you're gonna be in for a long night. And then, you know, you can really just, unfortunately, you have to just spend some time on it. You can, if you know there's a time of day when something happens, or you can even like sort of replicate it maybe on a lower level. You could be like, okay, I'm gonna like tap this table, and that would normally be something that would, you know, that would trigger my dog, but I'm going to be right here, you know, giving a treat, or something like that. Then that can really that can really be something that can help to sort of like mitigate your issue that you're having. And that's something that's you know, it's basically just positive reinforcement and stuff like that. So okay, whatever. These people don't want me to they don't want us to watch Critter Vision. You guys don't get to watch Critter Vision anymore. So sorry.
Oh, why? What happened?
Oh, they think
people
that it's
are
against
complaining.
DMCA, but it's not. But whatever. Fine. We'll watch somebody else, somebody better.
Like, we want to watch something different.
I know. I mean, it's fine. I only just promote CritterCam all the time, but that's fine. So anyway, so yeah, you want to just like get ahead of the game, right? You want to like make sure that you're providing the animal with the opportunity to not be upset and afraid. And then you have a better opportunity to make sure that they are, you know, being positively reinforced for those types of things and that type of stuff. So so it's definitely something that's very, very tricky to do, and you absolutely can work through it, but it is very, very hard. So I definitely recommend you know, putting your best foot forward, so to speak, and you know, getting some items that are gonna help you, like those thunder jackets and things like that, that really make a big difference as far as providing the animal with the opportunity to not be so afraid that they can't even possibly you know, overcome it. And so it's very, very hard, and it is a long game, but it is possible. So yeah, so that's what I would recommend specifically for the sound thing. The sound thing is hard because at any point in time a car can backfire, and you never know when that's going to happen, right? So you can be prepared for it. You can be like ready with like with treats and stuff like that. You do also want to be careful though that you don't get into reinforcing the animal too heavily for reacting to, like, you know, to certain instances, like, so, like, you know, you don't want to always reinforce him for having a super bad reaction. You know, you want to be comforting, but not. It's such a hard line. So then what you can do is you can also make sure that if something happens and the animal doesn't react and they're nice and calm, then you're ready for a lot of reinforcement, right? So that's something that you can definitely do as well. And so, so yeah, so it's very, very tricky, but hopefully that gives you like a good starting point. But it is very hard, but I know lots of people that have had a lot of success with those thunder jackets or whatever they're called, thunder vests, and those really, really help with sort of getting an animal to a calmer place where they then can be able to work through some of those issues, if that makes sense.
I've actually never heard of this thunder outfits until now. I'm like, that's interesting.
It's a thing. Like it just like it velcros on, so there's like different sizes for different animals, and it really like just kind of squeezes them tight and gives them a. It's the same as giving them a hug, you know.
Yes.
You know, whenever like an animal is like upset and you go and you hug it, and that seems to like help. It seems to be something that they want. Well, then you I
think it works in the same way as like those weighted anxiety blankets, which Aaron keeps recommending.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a question on this side very quickly. Okay, so obviously we're talking about, I think, mostly cats and dogs, but can self-cooked meals for pets be a kind of positive reinforcement, or is this just spoiling them?
Oh, like if they really like
or if they like
chicken or whatever,
like the specialized, like I do have a few friends and even some people on chat that like make specialized, they actually cook a meal for their pet. Is this?
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends on how you're using it. If you're just cooking them a meal and putting it on the floor and letting them eat it, then you're not teaching them anything, you know. But if you use it, if you're like, okay, I'm gonna cook, this treat this animal really like, I don't know, whatever. Maybe you like cook a steak for them and then you like cut it into little pieces and you're like, okay, I'm gonna, use this as positive reinforcement, and you like stretch it over a period of time, or I've got like a training session planned for this afternoon. I'm gonna use these little pieces of steak or whatever you're going to use. Absolutely, you can use that as positive reinforcement. You definitely just want to make sure that you are falling within the range of like what the diet is for the animal. Like you don't want to, I don't know, you don't want to end up with like enormously obese animals because you're feeding it like, marshmallows and some other things like that the animals of course really like, but So those types of things. But honestly, though, you guys, you don't need things to be too crazy. Like, what if, and we've talked about this on this channel, what if instead of at, the 2 times a day or whatever that the dog does eat, what if instead of just dumping the food in a bowl, you gave that food as part of a training session? You can even do 1 kibble at a time, but if you've got a big dog, of course, that makes it a little bit trickier. But you could do like a handful of food at a time for doing specific behaviors, or for spreading it out, that type of thing. Like instead of just dumping the food in a bowl and allowing the animal to eat it, you're actually providing something of interest with dinner time.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of pet owners don't think about doing this, and it's more work. It's absolutely more work. But that's something that you can definitely do. So I mean, you don't even need to cook special meals. I mean, if you like to do that, like, I mean, for their birthdays or whatever, like, do it. I mean, they're your animals to spoil. Like, spoil them. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't spoil your animals, but
you could use it as a positive reinforcement thing. Like,
just
here's
like,
the cooked steak.
Don't feed them ice cream and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, you can definitely spoil your animals.
But proper
totally
food.
Fine to do. They're your kids, man.
I'd know. Like, if anyone used a nice, good rump steak to positive reinforce me, I'd be there. It's like,
no kidding.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. Sorry, yes, I am a carnivore. Okay, we're an omnivore. But yeah. Okay, I see here the response was just healthy meal under control of it. So this is definitely cooked meals, like proper cooked meals, not the marshmallows and that jazz.
Right. No s'mores.
Yes, no s'mores. But like I said again, the Critter Vision they mixed it. I think it's something there. I know they explained it. They mixed marshmallow with the nuts and all this. There's so much different foods going on in there. She actually said you could eat it as a handful as a human and you'd be fine.
Right.
Moving on to the next question.
Okay, so we had more questions, but they're all kind of tied together with everything that we've discussed. And so this last question actually is, before I started watching Joey and the Gang, I didn't know otters could be trained for certain behaviors. What is the weirdest animal you've ever trained?
The weirdest animal?
Good
I guess
question.
It's gonna kind of depend on your like.
Like, is it weird the way they look or how they acted?
I have trained squirrels. I worked with tricolored squirrels before, which are a little bit different than like your common gray squirrel, but it doesn't really matter. It's a squirrel is a squirrel is a squirrel. I have trained alligators.
Alligators?
Yeah, they were small. They were like little guys.
Good God.
Let's see. Trying to think. Armadillos?
No.
Yeah, armadillos are fun.
What would you train an armadillo to do besides roll into a ball? I know I'm being blur, but can they like...
No, I mean, you can train them to like kind of like, they can't really like stand up on their hind legs or
because they're basically a
anything.
tank.
They're just not really made for that, but they can like kind of stand up on things. They can go certain places. They can follow you.
Oh my gosh.
You know, stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I mean like birds of prey, a tamandua, a prehensile-tailed porcupine. Those are some of the, I guess, like a little bit different, but it depends on what your definition is of weird, I guess.
It's like, I'm going to train this porcupine. Now, clean up the lint on that side of the room. Reverse.
Yeah, the gators, Minnie Mom was asking, the gators were trained to come to a target pole, so basically like target training so that we could
nice.
like feed them. And we could have done even more than that, but that was like kind of the basics of what they learned how to do, was just to like come over, target on a target pole, and then they would get reinforced for it. So
my mind's still hovering on armadillos, people. KP trained armadillos.
Armadillos are not, I don't think they're really dangerous. They can't even really, like, they're mostly insectivores. Like, they can't even really, like, insectivores can't even really, like, open their mouths. Like, they couldn't even really bite you. They just, like, lick out, like, their little tongue is the only thing that comes out.
Yes,
and they're super cute, but they, like, walk on their little nails. And so they, like, and that's, like, the sound that it makes on the floor. It's just, like,
on tiles.
And there's different kinds. We had like I think she was a 9-banded armadillo, named Pele. She was great.
I don't know if there is that. I don't know if it's the right creature. Someone can correct me there, but that armadillo that does stand a little bit on its hind legs and it's got those little paws hanging out in front. Is that an armadillo, or have I got the wrong animal? Also, layers of armor as if it's about to approach a wall. I'm gonna have to Google this. Like, they stand a little bit. Oh, man, it's going to bother me.
Since I'm not inside your brain,
yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Listen, everyone's going to be like, what is Jason smoking? Oh, yeah, I got pictures of, like, standing armadillos. They're like, they stand up with their little paws. They actually look like a weird-ass dinosaur.
And they smell funny. They smell weird.
Do they smell like corn chips? Or do they smell like...
Yeah, like a really weird corn chip that I probably wouldn't eat.
Yeah. All animals smell like corn chips. They're floofs. Yeah, you're right. They are furry underneath, but there it is, like standing up a little bit. So weird. Have plate armor. Yes, that's right. They are the tanks of the of that. But yeah, so we didn't really get a lot of questions here today, but we've made a good time. Do we know what we're going to be doing next week in preparation for the chat to post the questions on the AMA? Which, thank you for those that have submitted. I appreciate that. I think
we can discuss it and pick one from it.
Maybe we can put a poll up so that people can decide. But
yeah, maybe we should do that this week.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put
sometime this week we can look at it.
Yeah, we'll put a poll up, and then you guys can decide what you want us to chat about next week. Because we're not short of topics. There's so much topics that we want to cover, and it's always a learning experience. But thank you for.
I can't believe somebody wanted us to cover wolfins, and I was like, cool.
What's a wolfin? Excuse me?
It's very specific. I don't know if we'd be able to indulge in this for an hour, but a wolfin is a false killer whale mixed with a Pacific or a bottlenose dolphin.
Oh my god! Like mixed on purpose, or is it something that
no,
just?
not typically. I mean, like, no, but there are a few wolfins in facilities, actually mostly in Hawaii.
And is that something of two species mixing together, or is it a singular type of species?
No, it's two species breeding together. Yeah, it's a hybrid.
And they do that in the wild?
We could look. I don't know if there's been a recorded case in the wild.
Oh, so this is in captivity. This is.
It's happened, yeah, and it happened by accident because, you know, they just were housing the two species together because they're like, wee.
And they didn't expect them that they would like, hey, you look interesting, and that it would work.
Yeah, I mean, because, but yeah, there is like it's a concern because nobody really knows if these animals can interbreed and stuff like that. So it's not something that they're trying to do, and they're not trying to.
Yeah, like dude, that just was like, what the hell just happened?
It has accidentally happened, and it I guess theoretically it could happen out in the wild. It just would be kind of weird because the animals would have to get close to each other and.
Yes.
They're very different animals. And
God, some of them look freaky. Like that one picture you got up there. I've just seen you in my one picture on the top right hand side looks like that movie Alien. Like that is on the right. Yeah, like what is going on? Okay. We've learned something new.
It's definitely a little different. Oh wait, is this Oh no, this looks like it has happened out in the
wild.
I have to do some research on this. Well, anyway, I'll have to read this.
I didn't think that was possible.
Let's Google that after the stream.
Oh my gosh, yeah, so yeah. After the man to do wolfins. Okay, I thought that someone was just trying to troll, but I was wrong.
No,
wolfins. Sounds like a cool name.
Somebody that knows a little bit about cetaceans. Right?
Yeah, wow. And like I said, some of these are like the false killer whales mixed with the dolphins that look very weirdly different. Wolfins.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange mix.
Well, there we go. That could be one of the topics we talk about, and definitely I'll be the one asking most of the questions because my brain's already blown.
We talked about. Did we tell you the last time we talked about just blowing your mind and just like inventing new topics just to mess with you, even if they're not real? Like we talked about having like a topic of like animal organized crime, and like, it was like a serious issue, and
that's what I thought wolfins was gonna be like. I'm like, no. We definitely need to have a fake stream just to entertain. But yeah. Someone was saying, let me see, I thought this was going to be a question. A friend of mine.
Like animal myths. That could be kind of fun.
Yes, that could be animal myths. I still want to one day, I'm just saying this openly, like, want to do a stream, especially on your side, KP, because you've done similar shows like that before, they're a bit fun, like, rename the animal. What would we rename an animal based on its looks?
Yeah.
Like tank rat. I'm just looking at the armadillo.
That would definitely be less educational and
absolutely.
more entertaining.
Absolutely.
It would still be fun.
But if you guys are interested in some of our AMAs being a little more fun-based, a little more interesting, please let us know because it will give us some guidance. Yeah, just to have a little bit of fun. But anyway, yeah. Thank you so much, KP, once again for your time and your contribution. And Ray, of course, for organizing all the spreadsheets and the questions for all of you to fill in.
Reiha is the
admin queen,
like the backbone that holds this whole thing together.
Absolutely. That's why the one day when Reiha was gone, that was when we were like, where's Reiha? How are we going to do this? I don't have the questions.
I was so hyped that day, and then my body was like, no. I was like, well, shit.
The fact that we thought it was something special that we got to that show without you just shows we're like, we did it. We actually did it without Reiha. Like, oh my God, but still nerve-wracking trying to open up the spreadsheets and gosh. But there you go. Tessa's just dropped the link. Are you going to be streaming after this a little bit?
Yeah, I think we've got a bunch of animal videos that people have popped in my channel that we need to analyze, so we'll be doing that.
So I've dropped the link. I see Nightbot has woken up. Drop the link to the Twitch channel and give her a follow on the YouTube for her deeper dives. And look forward to the task talks on our side. Keep in mind we are going to be taking a break soon for season 1, but then hopefully you can fill up the space with the deeper dives and just go there, watch them. They're interesting. I love that show. But thank you very much, and we'll catch everyone soon.
All right.